Halló kæru nemendur og velkomin á rásina mína, lærum íslensku, or hello dear students, welcome to my channel, let's learn Icelandic. As you might have seen from the title, today we're going to tackle the numbers from 1 to 4, and I'm sure many of you have thought, why would anyone make a lesson with only 4 numbers? What's wrong with her? How stupid does she think we are? And to this I say, oh my sweet, sweet, innocent children, how lovely it must be to live on your clouds of pink and fluffiness. Because actually the numbers from 1 to 4, they sort of, in many ways, act similar to adjectives. Not completely, but in some ways. And this means that the numbers from 1 to 4, they exist in the 3 genders. So you have to learn them in the 3 genders. And they also exist in singular and in plural. So what's plural 2? I mean, 2 is 2. How can 2 be plural? And the answer to that is we use the plural 2 when we're counting nouns that are inherently plural. For example, pants. Like in English you say these pants are, and it's also the same in Icelandic. Pants are buxur, and buxur are always plural. So when we're counting pants or anything else that's inherently plural, then we use the plural form of 1 to 4. And also we can do it, for example, if we say 2 shoes in the singular, this means that we have the right shoe, and on the left shoe we have 2 shoes in total. But if we say 2 shoes and 2 is in the plural, that means that we have 2 pairs of shoes. So the plural form is actually useful, but it's much less used, so I will not talk about this today. But so we have the 3 genders, we have the singular, and then we have the plural, and of course we have the 4 cases for all of them. And then each of the numbers also has a noun associated to them. Then we have twice and thrice, and puh. So my answer is basically this. No, I'm not going to teach you numbers 1 to 4 in this lesson, not even close, but I'm going to start. So let's just start counting in the male form, because like with the adjectives, the male form is sort of the dictionary form, and this is also true about the numbers. You will find the male form in the dictionary, and also when you're just counting. When you're not counting anything in particular, when you're just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then we count in the male form. So let's start with that from 1 to 4. It's not so hard. First of all, we have Einn. And notice that the double N at the end is the typical Icelandic nose N. Check my previous lessons for more instructions on how to pronounce this. I'll put the link in the description. But for now, let's just try to copy after me when I say Einn. And then we want to say 2. Then it's tveir. 3 is þrír, and 4 is fjórir. So if we're just counting from 1 to 4, we simply say 1, 2, 3, 4. I will repeat 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was completely manageable, so now you know how to count from 1 to 4, and you actually also know how to count male things, like if you want to count men or any noun that is male, then you use these forms of 1 to 4. As an example, let's count men. We say einn maður, tveir menn, þrír menn, fjórir menn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Einn maður, tveir menn, þrír menn, fjórir menn. Easy. We can also count bananas with this, and then we say einn banani, tveir bananar, þrír bananar, and fjórir bananar. So all in all, quite manageable. And now if we want to count women, of course we cannot use the same form of the numbers as when we count men. That would be ridiculous. So instead we use the female form of the numbers. And this is as follows. Einn, tvær, þrjár, þrjár, and fjórar. Fjórar. So let's count women. Then we say ein kona, tvær konur, þrjár konur, and fjórar konur. We can also count oranges. Let's count oranges. Then we say ein appelsína, tvær appelsínur, þrjár appelsínur, and fjórar appelsínur. So if we're counting female things, then we say ein, tvær, þrjár, and fjórar. Finally, if we're counting neutral things, of course we need different versions. And then we count like this. We say eitt, tvö, þrjú, and fjögur. And if you count the children, for example, we say eitt barn, tvö börn, þrjú börn, and fjögur börn. We can also count apples in this way because apple in Icelandic is a neutral word. And then we say eitt epli, tvö epli, þrjú epli, and fjögur epli. So I think this was sort of manageable. I don't know how confusing this is. And I also am not sure if you're a foreigner, if it's easier to learn one gender at a time or learn one number in all the genders and then the next number in all the genders, etc. So now I'm going to go over it again, but just do one number at a time. Okay, and I will be counting boys, girls, and children. Okay, first we have the number one, and then we say einn strákur, ein stelpa, and eitt barn. I repeat, einn strákur, ein stelpa, eitt barn. Now if we have two of each, then we say tveir strákar, tvær stelpur, and tvö börn. It's not obvious if you know the word tveir. It's not obvious how the female and the neutral form will be, unfortunately. But at least it's only 4 numbers that are like this. Then if we do number 3, then it's þrír strákar, þrjár stelpur, and finally þrjú börn. Then we do the number 4, and we say fjórir strákar, fjórar stelpur, and fjögur börn. Like I mentioned before, when we're counting, we're just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, then we won't use the male form. However, if we are saying number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, then we use the neutral form, okay? And then we say nummer 1, nummer 2, nummer 3, and nummer 4. Also, when we are telling time, then we also use the neutral form. So we will say klukkan 1, klukkan 2, klukkan 3, and klukkan 4. So I think the reason for this is that we're sort of counting abstract concepts, we're counting numbers and we're counting time, so that's sort of abstract, and I think this is the reason for why we use the neutral. However, when we're counting minutes and seconds, then because minutes and seconds are female words, then we count them with the female. And here comes the slightly strange part, is that when we're counting things, let's say we're counting cats. We have 2 cats. It is completely allowed in Icelandic to put the number first and then the cats, or put the cats first and then the numbers. So if we say, for example, that 2 cats are here, we can say tveir kettir eru hérna, or kettir tveir eru hérna. both is completely correct in any sense of the way. Putting the number before whatever you're counting is more common. Okay, it's much more common. So if you're speaking normally, usually you would put the number first and then whatever you're counting, in this case cat. So the normal thing would be to say hérna eru tveir kettir. If you say hérna eru kettir tveir, it's slightly more maybe poetic, or it's slightly more abstract. It's not completely abstract, but it's a little bit more abstract. So if you say tveir kettir sitja hérna, you are talking about two specific cats that are exactly sitting here. But if you say kettir tveir sitja hér, it's slightly more about the concept of two cats that are sitting in the moonlight or whatever. So it sounds more like it's a part of a poem, or maybe more like it's a cats that are made up in some sense. But it doesn't have to be, and the meanings overlap quite a bit. So basically both versions are completely fine. So you can just choose whatever comes easier to you, but it's typically more natural to put the number first. However, here comes the slightly strange part, because if you put the greinir, the to the word, and say the two cats in Icelandic, then you always want to put the number after the word, always after the word. So you would always say kettirnir tveir sitja hérna. Kettirnir tveir sitja hérna, or kettirnir tveir eru hérna. The logic behind this is a little bit like this. If you say tveir kettir, you're putting slightly more emphasis on the first word. Okay, so you're saying there are two cats. When you say kettir tveir, then you're emphasizing that these are cats and they just happen to be two of them. However, when you have the word with the greinir, it means that these cats have already been introduced to you. So if it's the two cats, you already know what cats you're talking about, and you already know that there are two of them. And then it becomes more important that there are cats than that there are two. Because you already know that there are two, so you don't need to emphasize this. So you would always say kettirnir tveir sitja hérna. Or you could swap this for people, and you could say mennirnir þrír sitja hérna, konurnar tvær sitja hérna, etc. So just remember, when you don't have any greinir, just the word, then you can choose whether you put the number before or after the word. When you have the greinir, the number should always come after the word. Not too complicated, a little bit weird, I admit, but easy enough. So that's it. Now you have started to learn the Icelandic numbers from 1 to 4. The good news is that all the other numbers, they don't behave like this. Okay, they don't behave like this, and this is the reason why I only did the numbers from 1 to 4. So when we will go to the other numbers, to 5, 6 and beyond, then they will not change depending on the gender, they will not change depending on the case, and they will not change depending on whether they are singular or plural. So it's basically only numbers 1 to 4 that have this a little bit complication, but I don't think it's too bad. Hopefully we can get through it, and at least now we have started. So check out the homework and good luck. Here is an overview of what we talked about in this lesson. Press pause and review at your own pace. We have 3 exercises today. The first one is relatively simple. Just connect the words with the correct form of a number. Press pause, take your time, and now I will give you the answer. So here is the result. I think this is relatively straightforward, so let's just move on to the next exercise. So now let's take things up a notch. Try to fill in here with the correct form of the numbers. You can take all the time that you need. There's no reason to hurry. Just press pause and take your time, and then now I will give you the answer. So here is the result. Klukkan 2, 3 stelpur, konurnar 4, númer 1, strákarnir 3, 4 börn, and finally 1 maður. And for the final exercise of today, we have a small text here in black. So I want you to read over the text out loud if you can to practice the pronunciation and figure out from the numbers what are the genders of the different ingredients. Don't worry too hard if you don't understand every single word. I will go over the meaning in the next slide, but just looking at the numbers, you should be able to tell the gender of each product. Press pause, take all the time that you need, and then I will slowly go over the answers. First of all, here is the translation of the text. In case you need help with the pronunciation, I will read over the Icelandic part. Í gær eldaði ég frumlega grænmetissúpu. Í uppskriftinni eru 4 gulrætur, 1 mandarína, 2 lítrar af vatni, 1 súputeningur, 3 laukar, 3 hvítlauksrif, 2 eggaldin, 2 sítrónur og 4 kálblöð. Súpan var góð, svo ég varð mjög hamingjusamur. I hope that you noticed the last word of this text, which is hamingjusamur. Hamingjusamur. So if you've seen some of my previous lessons, then you might know that hamingjusamur is in the male form, so we automatically know that the speaker is male. If you have not watched any of my previous lessons and you had no idea what the gender of the speaker was, don't worry, this was just for fun. And finally, here are the genders of the different ingredients, which you could tell from the numbers in front of them. That is all for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode, or sjáumst í næsta þætti. Bless, bless!